Great. Okay. And anyone who joins us late, no problem, but we will go ahead and get started. And good morning, everyone. As always, I really look forward to this meeting. I look forward to seeing some of your faces, hearing some of your voices, and reading some of your chats. I have to say that's been quite an upside of Zoom, is the chat feature. It's been pretty cool, pretty helpful. So keep those coming. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. See if I can figure out how to advance these slides. There we go. So we'll start with our usual introductions, and then we'll do a couple of announcements and updates. And then we move into our usual brainstorming. And hopefully you have some things to share or ask or add. And then we're excited to have a presentation today about leisure activities for children and youth with special health care needs and the importance of those, and many other things that go along with that sort of area. And then we'll wrap it up by 10. So let's go ahead and start with introductions. And the way we will do this, I think, is we'll just, I'll look at my list and I'll just go through the list of participants. So I'll start with me, and I'm Mindy Tueller, and I think I know most of you. There may be one or two new faces today, so welcome. We're really happy that you're here. And I manage the Medical Home Portal, which is an online resource for those who care for children and youth with special health care needs. And we'll be taking a quick look at that, I'm sure, today, as we usually do. And I also facilitate this meeting, and we're part of the University of Utah's Department of Pediatrics. Okay, Michelle, I see you up next.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm Michelle Redfield. I am the administrative assistant for UCCCN, MHP, well, Medical Home Portal, and General Pediatrics.
Thanks, Michelle. And Pat Rowe.
I'm Pat. I'm a pediatric nurse care manager for the commercial team at Select Health Insurance.
Glad you're here, Pat.
Thank you.
And Allison. Just see Allison only, no last name. Not sure if you're able to talk. And you're welcome to put anything in the chat too, if that's easier, and we'll read it off. Athena.
Hi, I'm Athena Parker, and I'm with the Medical Home Portal team as well, and I work with all of our state partners.
All right, and Amalia. Oh, something's in the chat. Allison, going back to Allison. Allison is with Hillcrest Pediatrics. She's a care manager. We're glad you're here, Allison. I know Amalia is with, she's helping with the Spark program that you guys know we talk about pretty regularly with UDAC. Great. Let's see, we'll come back to Nikki in just a minute. All right, Cassie Crane.
I'm Cassie. I'm a care coordinator at Wasatch Pediatrics South Point.
We're really glad you're with us, Cassie. And Dora.
Hello, I am Dora. I'm the professional relations coordinator.
And Dora, just to let you know, we're having some audio issues. Everything seemed really delayed to me. So I'm not sure if maybe before you guys do your interview. Yeah, it's kind of garbled. Just an FYI for you. But Dora, yeah, Dora's with Shriners. Right, and we're glad you are here. Let's see. Okay, Eric Christensen, you're up.
Hi there, I'm Eric Christensen. I manage the Integrated Services team at the Utah Department of Health Bureau of Children with Special Health Care Needs. And feel it's appropriate to give a huge shout out to Mindy and her amazing team. They do such a great job putting this meeting together every single month. So Mindy, just know that all of us on the call are grateful for all of your hard work and your coordinating efforts. So thank you, and Michelle and Athena, Gabby, everybody who makes this a success every month.
Here, here.
Thank you, Eric. I want you guys to know Eric is part of our planning team as well. And he's a huge help with great ideas. And we're really appreciative to all the folks who helped put this on. So thanks, Eric. All right, Evelyn. See, Evelyn, you're muted. I can see that. I should have all of these memorized, and I don't. I could tell you where I think Evelyn's from, but I'd probably get it wrong, so I'm not going to do that. Evelyn, if you have the ability to come back on and tell us or do it in the chat, that's great, but no worries otherwise.
You put it in the chat, Mindy.
Okay. There it is, Evelyn, care coordinator at Utah Valley Peds Cherry Tree. Great. Oops. Doing things on the, there we go. All right, so let's go back to Ileana.
I'm Ileana, I'm the manager at Southwest Children's Clinic, and Janet's with me, and she's the care coordinator for Southwest Children.
Okay, Ileana, just so you know, you guys are really faint. We're only able to hear you just a little bit, but we're glad to see both of you.
Okay.
Great. Okay, Janelle Hendrickson.
Hi, I'm a nurse coordinator, not coordinator, sorry, nurse care manager at Holiday Pediatrics for Intermountain.
Great, glad you're with us. And Jill.
Good morning. I'm Jill Connor, Director of Business Development at Shriners Hospitals for Children. I work with Dora, and Dora is our professional relations coordinator. You guys didn't catch that.
Great, thanks, Jill. And we hear you well.
Okay, good.
Okay. Okay, Melissa Higley.
Hi, I'm a care manager at Altiview Pediatrics.
Wonderful, glad you're here. And I think I skipped over Lexi. Sorry, Lexi.
That's okay. So I'm Lexi, and I'm the new transition specialist for children with special health care needs, and it is my second week.
We're very glad you're here, and I look forward to working with you on transition stuff as well, I hope. So glad you made it. It's great. Let's see. Okay, Natalie.
Hi, I am Natalie Allen, and I am a nurse practitioner. I work with Integrated Services Program, and I also teach at the University of Utah in the nurse practitioner program. I love these meetings. So helpful.
and we love Natalie. We're glad you're here. Okay, Nikki, and Nikki already put her information in the chat, so I'll read it. Nikki is a registered nurse care coordinator at Busy Bee Pediatrics, and we're always glad when Nikki can join us. Okay, and I have a Rebecca.
Sorry, I was on mute. My name is Rebecca Cellino. I'm a registered nurse care manager at the Farmington Clinic for the University of Utah.
Excellent. We're so glad you're with us.
Thank you.
Okay, Tiffany at UVP Temp.
Yes, I'm Tiffany at the Utah Valley Pediatrics Timpanogos office and care coordinator.
Great. Glad you're with us. Okay, Tina. Tina with the infamous background.
I never can find her mute button. Hi, I'm Tina Purcells. I am with Utah Family Voices at the Utah Parent Center. I am also a mom of 2 kiddos, one who happens to be 21 and beautiful, has lots of challenges, multiple disabilities, and his name is Adam. A lot of you probably know him. I know Dora does because we've done work together. And I just want to say that I am really so impressed with, I notice some of these names because I get calls from you and we talk about some of your cases, and every time a pediatric office or provider calls and talks with me, I know that they're getting good care. And it's not just because you're calling me, it's because you're making the calls for them. So
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is a great group doing wonderful things. All right. Thank you, Tina. Okay, Tony, you're up.
I'm Tony Estrada with the Integrated Services Program. I'm a care coordinator.
Glad you are on the call. And let's see, the next one that I see is a UID from the university, U0509.
Pray for Steve and Chase, especially if they might have the
Okay,
spirit to be
Brooke,
willing to help them.
and Brooke is with Patty, and they are nurse care managers at the Sugar House Clinic, and you don't have
Things
video
in
or
this
audio
industry.
available. No problem. And just use the chat, please, Patty and Brooke, just like you're doing. That's great. Glad you're here. Now I keep forwarding the slides. I apologize. I'm just going to leave that. All right, Walt.
Good morning. I'm Walt with Integrated Services Program with the State Health Department, and I'm a care coordinator in the Salt Lake office. And we're really glad to have Lexi on our team.
Nice. Very nice. Okay, and I think a few people have added, so let me just scan the list really quick. Katie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Katie, and I am one of the care coordinators at the University Pediatric Clinic.
Welcome, welcome. All right, I see HD Beeman. If you are able to unmute, introduce yourself. Sometimes it can be tricky. I think this might be another new person who's just been added, so welcome. And Angie.
Hi, this is Angie Richens. I am the Director of Behavioral Health and Case Management for the Alpine Pediatrics Group.
Always glad when you can join us, Angie. Okay, I think that's about it. Apologies if I didn't make you introduce yourself. But let's go ahead and get started since my slides seem to want to forward anyway. So just housekeeping, we encourage you, if you have the ability to do our meetings on Zoom via your computer, laptop, or desktop. That seems like the best experience, but we'll take you any way we can get you. And we will try and end promptly at 10. A couple of announcements. Announcement one is that the University of Utah's Pediatric Project Echo. I think some of you may recall that we actually had a presentation by them well over a year ago by Christina Choate. I think that's how you say her last name. And it was so interesting. I thought, oh, wow, that's a great program and lots of potential interest for our UCCCN folks. Well, we get to manage it now. So I'm going to be working on that project along with Dr. Jennifer Goldman-Luthi, who is a pediatrician in our division. And she's also going to be doing more and more with the medical home portal. And so we are going to be running the PEDS Project Echo for University Health. And we're going to be doing, at least at first, 2 meetings a month. Hopefully, typically not on UCCCN days. So they will be on Wednesdays. They will be at noon, just as they have been, if any of you have attended those. Occasionally, we will have sent out the links to our list. But we are excited that right out of the gate, we are collaborating with the Center for Persons with Disabilities, Project Scope. So they have a Project Echo going on. And it's around opioid exposure in newborns. And many, if not all, of the 10 sessions they have scheduled for the rest of 2021 are very in line with what care coordinators and care managers will want to know about this particular issue. So you will be receiving information on those. And they are at noon on Wednesdays. I know that can be hard sometimes to manage, but we'll try and get that information out to you ahead of time so that if you have interest, you can try and get that on your calendar and join us. And there is CME available for those. So I hope that you'll consider joining us for our Project Echo series for peds. And again, you'll be getting lots of information on those, and we'll try to kind of keep UCCCN Wednesdays protected, so there's not one more thing on those Wednesdays, and hopefully those will be of value to you. Okay, so now I'm going to turn some time over to Dora and Jill. And I don't know if you guys would like to have the screen or if you can just talk. I do have another slide right after this regarding the surgical service changes, but take it away.
Okay, thanks, Mindy. I'll just talk for now. We do have a video that we would like to share with the group, but I think it would probably be easiest just to send you the link to share out. It is in regards to our baby bug program, which is through our wheelchair and seating department, which allows early mobility for the tiniest of kids. KSL did a wonderful, just quick news piece on that. And so I wanted to share that with the group. So I'll send you the link to that, Mindy. But the other big announcement that we really wanted to highlight this morning is Shriners Hospitals for Children, Salt Lake City. We are expanding our longstanding relationship with Intermountain Primary Children's. And beginning September 1st, our patients will receive their surgical and inpatient services at Primary Children. So we are discontinuing our surgeries at our facility due to the nature of what we do, and because many orthopedic procedures are now done on an outpatient basis. And because our system as a whole is just evolving and changing, we're looking at ways in which we can treat more kids in more places and how to more effectively just utilize the funds to support our mission, the funds in our endowment fund. We thought we decided to make that transition, and we have always done surgeries, especially our very complex surgeries that required, intensive care at primaries. And as you guys are well aware, we've had a great collaborative relationship with primaries since we've been around. So again, we're enhancing that. So September 1 is that date. It is important to remember that all other services will remain at our facility. Patients will continue to receive outpatient clinic care at our facility as well. And, especially for those service lines that Primary Children's does not have available. So that would be our wheelchair and seating department, our pediatric orthotics and prosthetics department, our motion analysis center, and our robust therapy services program. So the referral process still remains the same. And we basically, just with that one piece of that surgical service line being performed at another facility, we are emphasizing that the continuum of care for our patients will remain the same. And that also means that their surgeon will also be a Shrine surgeon. They'll just be performing surgery at another facility. So I wanted to make everybody aware of that. And please reach out to Dora and I if you guys have any questions. And I can field any questions now if you guys have any questions related to that.
Jill, will your outpatient services, like your orthotics, prosthetics, that kind of thing, will that expand to bring the kids from Primary Children's that would normally have services there over to you guys?
That is the thought there, Pat. Yes, we really, and they're still, negotiating the details of that, but we really see this as an opportunity to enhance our collaboration with primaries in those areas. So there's a lot of meetings and negotiations going on right now, and we're hoping, we'll have some news to share as we move forward with this transition.
Oh, I hope that happens for you. That would be a great partnership.
Yes.
So many ways.
Yes, agreed. And like I said, especially the Lehigh build that they have, that's, I believe 2024 is the completion of that for the new Primary Children's Lehigh build. It's just a wonderful opportunity for Shriners to fill in those holes that Primary doesn't have at this point. So we're excited about it. Any other questions?
I'll just read what Tina put in the chat. I have such respect and love for the Shrine. Everything they do for our kids is from their hearts.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I echo what Pat said. It makes so much sense. you know?
Yeah,
it
it
does.
really does. And I also want to emphasize that patients, you know, we will also support them with our mission, you know, and we're still working through, you know, what that billing process is going to look like. Are they going to receive a separate bill? Is it going to be kind of like a co-branded type thing? But again, with the ultimate mission of providing care regardless of ability to pay. So we'll still, those patients will still be under that Shriners umbrella, if you will.
Great. Well, yeah, again, everyone, please don't hesitate to reach out to Jill and Dora if you have any questions. And if you don't have their contact information on the tips of your fingers, just let me know and we'll get it to you. We'll also send it out with our summary of the meeting and with the video link. The medical home portal actually shared on social media that KSL video because it's just A, darling, and B, so important and really, really cool. So yeah, note that there is this baby bug program and it's really neat.
Yeah, thank you, Mindy. And thanks for the opportunity. I can't, you know, like Eric mentioned, I just want to echo his sentiments. Thank you for bringing this group together. There's so much collaboration and we're so happy to be a part of it. And I'm really excited to hear about your Project Echo involvement. Please, we would love to work with you again. You know, we did a whole month of pediatric orthopedic topics.
Yes.
And yeah, put a placeholder for us. We would love to bring some education and topics your way.
Excellent, excellent. We look forward to that. I will be in touch. Good. We are trying to take it a little bit slow because it's happened kind of quickly, and we're still juggling all of our other duties as well. But I'm sure that there would be lots and lots of interest in more opportunities and really filling up those Wednesdays at noon as we get more into it. So I'll be in touch, Jill.
Thank you.
All right, let's see if we can move to our next slide. Yep, there's our monthly reminder about the Spark Autism study. So Amalia is on our call and she would be delighted to send you digital and or physical flyers if that's helpful. So you can always just let me know that you have an interest in those. If you just need more information, again, the Spark folks would be delighted to make sure that you understand what the program is all about. But they are really still trying to get people involved and enrolled in that. And there's a lot of benefits for those enrollees and a lot of potential benefits for them. And it's very, very easy and it's free. So.
Mindy, do they want adults in that study?
Yeah, yes. Amalia, are you able to, do you want to field that?
Okay. Yes, adults, children. We really are trying to get, they call them trios. So the whole family, the children, the parents, that's a trio, but adults as well. So anyone really with an autism diagnosis.
Thank you. My adult son was recently diagnosed with autism. So I have a new perspective. There we go.
Yes, of course. I'll drop our email in there. So if you'd like to email us and the phone number as well. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Amalia. So that's in the chat. Okay, so some quick updates. Wow, almost 9 quick updates. We have some new and updated clinical content. There's a new newborn disorder, actually a couple of them on our website. I think it's Pompeii. And 3-MGA, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the whole thing there. And then we've updated our neurofibromatosis type 1 diagnosis module recently, and also our page on ADHD for educators. So check those out. Advance the slide. There we go. All right, and Athena, I'll just give you a couple of minutes if you don't mind. Do you want me to stop sharing and you can take over?
Yeah, I just wanted to do another quick highlight of some categories within the Utah Services Directory, and it has to do with our presentation today, which is going to be on leisure and recreation. So I wanted to show you a few different ways to search for those opportunities within the state of Utah here on the medical home portal. Is my screen showing? Yes, okay. So within the service directory, I think the best way to search this is actually is under service category. So if I just type the word recreation you're going to see it's going to produce a list of options for me of topics that we have related to recreation. So we have social and recreational opportunities, there's recreational therapy, adaptive sports and recreation, and then we have a handful of other subcategories to recreation, like camps for children with especially the healthcare needs, service opportunities, recreational facilities, recreational leisure, arts activities, scholarship, recreation, and youth development. So lots of areas to look into. I'm just going to highlight this one, recreational leisure and arts, because I think it has the most to do probably with what our speaker will be talking on today. And again, just to remind you, we do have this new map feature, so you can zero in on specific areas of the state to find some good leisure opportunities. We try to list especially organizations that do offer special programming for children with special healthcare needs, like museums and nature centers or other kinds of things like that. So just be aware of those categories, and we'd love to hear your feedback on them too. If you know of other opportunities within your area, again, always use the suggest a new provider button. We love to see things coming through there. So hopefully that's helpful as you search for leisure opportunities in your area.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, let me go back in and share again. Okay, so we only have a few minutes, but I definitely want to make sure that you guys have some time to let us know about anything going on in your world. So whether it's good, bad, or other, if it's a difficult case you'd like some help with, if you have any new resources, if you've done any motivational interviewing or quality improvement you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear about it.
Mindy, I found a new resource that I've never heard of before.
Okay.
And it's through the Catholic Community Services St. Vincent's Kitchen Academy. And let me just read, they wrote up a good spot on here. And it's how we do it. Throughout the program, clients will be equipped with both culinary and life skills. Clients will also be offered case management services for housing and employment, as well as experimental learning opportunities through an externship and assistant job placement. And unemployment, low wages commonly contribute to individuals' risk of experiencing homelessness. And so it looks like eligibility prior to participation in the program, clients will complete an application and undergo an interview process. And it looks like at this point in time, they're saying that due to COVID, the program has been delayed and it will launch once again when it's safe for both our staff and clients. So I think this might be a good opportunity for maybe some of our client families that are struggling, that might give them a path.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Walt. We'll look that up, and then if we have any questions, we'll reach out to you, but we'll make sure that that's in our services directory.
All right, great.
Thanks. Anybody else? Oh, you guys are quiet today. I don't want to move forward if there's anybody who has anything they'd like to share or ask.
I do. This is Tina.
Okay.
If anybody could send me their best, and I know there's a couple out there, but their best resources for a 10-year-old child whose father just passed away. I know there's the sharing place, but anything else you might think of, just send it my way.
Okay. And you guys can always send that through me as well. Or if you think of something during the meeting, you can put it in the chat. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like someone's got something in the chat. Let me take a peek before we move on. Several things. Okay. Okay, it looks like that might be about Spark. Okay. All right, so resources for a 10-year-old boy who has just lost his father, in addition to the sharing place. Okay. And that's,
Wendy,
of course,
I just want to,
go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows, but the medically complex children's waiver is open until the end of the month. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that.
Okay. Always appreciate those reminders, Tony. Thank you. And the end of the month, they'll be here quick. So, okay, thank you. All right, well, it is 9:05, and I do see our presenter on our Zoom with us, and so I'm so pleased about that. I'll go ahead and, oops, darn me, I didn't put a slide in here for Jamie. I apologize, Jamie. And if you would like to take the screen, or if there's anything that I can switch to and be showing while you talk, please let me know. But we have Jamie Bennett here, and we're delighted to listen to what you have to say, Jamie.
Wonderful. I'm happy to be here. I would like to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay.
You bet. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I don't think that there's any reason you shouldn't be able to grab that now.
All right, perfect. I see it here.
Great. Yes, it's working.
All right. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself over the next couple of slides, but I'm here to talk today about leisure, play, and recreation, and why they're important in our lives and why they're important to share with those that we're working with. And really the main reason is that leisure, play, and recreation are there to enhance our well-being and quality of life. So if you think about your life and think about the things that bring you joy, oftentimes it's spending time with people, it's getting out and hiking, it's things that really revolve around leisure, play, and recreation. And that is the same for those that we're working with. However, oftentimes they experience barriers or limitations in engaging in leisure, play, and recreation. Not to mention, typically when we get busy, when we have medically complex children to care for, leisure, play, and recreation are often the first things that go out the window because we have so many other things that we need to attend to. There's so many studies that show, however, when we kind of flip that role and attend to our leisure, play, and recreation, we are more able to attend to those other matters in a more ethical way, in a manner that allows us to be there with our full intentions in order to do that. So first, an introduction to myself. My name is Jamie Bennett. I'm faculty at the University of Utah. I teach in the Recreational Therapy department or program, which is coupled with occupational therapy as well. So we have a really unique and diverse program that allows us to kind of get that full story of interprofessional communication and working together. I also own a company called Rec Therapy Solutions. We provide individual, family, and community services, recreational therapy services to individuals all across Utah. So I'm very connected both clinically as well as in the academic world. So let me tell you a little bit about how I got into recreational therapy, and then we'll talk about what it is. So the individual here in the wheelchair is a dear friend of mine's daughter, and I would go over there weekly, over to their house, and just sit and talk with their daughter. Her name's Sammy, and she would tell me all about how she wanted to play soccer with everybody else in her sister was playing, her friends were playing. She wanted to go out and she wanted to play soccer. But at the time, this was back in 2010, they didn't really know. They didn't have the resources. They didn't know how to allow somebody to play soccer who used a power wheelchair to ambulate. And so while there are many resources, and at this time, we have so many resources within the Salt Lake Valley, I was living in Portland at the time, and there were no adaptive recreation programs that we could introduce her to. And so I decided to build this little contraption for her power wheelchair. It's just made out of wood, and we attached it to her wheelchair so that she could essentially move her wheelchair around and kick the soccer ball. And going to her game and seeing her face light up allowed me to know that that was my passion in life, to allow people to recreate along with their peers, regardless of their ability. And so that was kind of how my passion and love for recreational therapy began. While I didn't know the words to put to that, I knew that's what I wanted to do. So recreational therapy is this ambiguous thing to a lot of people. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, but recreational therapy is a systematic process that addresses the assessed needs of individuals. This includes looking at improving health, reducing impairments, looking at body function, looking at reducing activity limitations, increasing participation, looking at environmental barriers of everyone that they serve. So the scope of practice of recreational therapy includes assessing the individual, planning, creating those treatment plans, implementing those treatment plans, evaluating and documenting around that. So I think it's important for everyone to know what recreational therapy is, so that you also can know what you can do even though, or if you're not a recreational therapist. I think there are a lot of resources that we could provide to our clients, regardless of who you are and what you do. So today we're going to talk about understanding the importance of leisure, play, and recreation, what the differences of those are, recognizing those 5 domains, and how leisure, play, and recreation can support you, but also your clients and their well-being and quality of life. We're going to identify the role of leisure, play, and recreation in your life and translate to the lives of your clients. And then we're going to become familiar with leisure resources, or kind of the steps in how to empower families to incorporate leisure and in their daily activities. There will be an activity. So just so you know, this is how I like to present. I love you to be involved. I love you to be thinking about things. So scratch piece of paper with something to write with will come in handy as we jump into that a little bit later. First, let's talk about definitions. I think it's important to get on the same page. And for years, people have been trying to define what is leisure? What does that look like? Well, it is relatively philosophical. Leisure is this idea of perceived freedom. It's something that we do on our free time, something that we enjoy, that we're good at. We're intrinsically motivated to do that. And it makes us happy. It allows us to have a positive affect. So leisure is free of time constraints. You're not forced into doing it. And it's really just this thing where I can say, in my leisure time, I do this. Play, the definition of play, and often we find this with children specifically, they're most commonly engaging in play. While I think it's important for adults to engage in play as well, I think somewhere along the lines we lose that aspect of really just this opportunity to dance, to leap for joy, to rejoice, to be glad. According to the Oxford Dictionary, that's what play is, but it's really universal. You can sit down and play with someone who you also may or may not understand you might not understand or have a language barrier there. So it's universal. It can nourish, enrich, enhance. Really, it shapes norms, values, and customs. So the way that I play is very different and drastically different than somebody across the world. But while it is different, you can still engage because it's this aspect of play. So Recreation is the actual activity that you're engaging in during your free time. So when we think of recreation, oftentimes we think of skiing and we think of basketball and volleyball and those recreational activities. It's wide range, it's often voluntary, although sometimes we know that recreation is not voluntary. It often is, and as you get older, you get that chance to choose. And then there's generally an outcome associated with recreation, which differs from typical leisure, where there might not be an outcome associated. You're engaging in leisure for the sake of leisure. And typically you do engage in leisure or in recreation in your free time. So why is it important to engage in leisure? For one, personal development, social bonding. Oftentimes when we're engaging in leisure, it has to do with those around us. Who are we engaging in leisure with? There's a lot of therapeutic healing that can be brought into the realm when we're engaging in leisure, physical well-being, stimulation. So really getting an idea of, let's go on a hike and let's invite our five senses to be on the hike with us. What does it smell like when we're hiking? What does it look like? So getting that stimulation in. It's freedom and independence and also nostalgia. Thinking back to my childhood and engaging in recreation, those were the times that I was the most happy, that I felt authentically myself. And when I engage in leisure now, being able to reflect on that brings that same sense of authenticity to me. However, when we're working with individuals who have a disability, who have a medical condition, we understand that there are constraints, and that extends beyond individuals with disabilities or medical conditions to ourselves. What are the constraints that keep us from engaging in leisure, play, and recreation? Is there any factor that limits our frequency, intensity, and duration? Number one thing is health. Are we able, are we healthy, can we engage in those things? And I think it is important to recognize that engaging in leisure is a privilege. It's an opportunity that we have. And while not everyone can engage in leisure, play, and recreation, we want to give them or extend that opportunity and make it accessible to them. So one constraint is that accessibility factor. What resources are they? What do they have in their community? Are they able to ambulate in order to engage in leisure, play, and recreation in a way that is acceptable to them? Social isolation is another big reason that people do not engage in leisure. Oftentimes, because leisure, play, and recreation is so socially driven, being isolated and not having anyone to do that with can be a huge constraint. Personal reasons, there's a whole list of reasons that an individual might not be able to engage in leisure, play, and recreation. Costs. Going skiing is expensive. I've only personally been skiing once in my life. I've grown up here in Utah. We have the greatest snow on earth, but cost was a barrier for me while I was younger, and now I feel like I'm too old to go skiing. Time commitments is another reason. Again, we get too busy. We have too many things that we are filling our time with that we have to do, and so leisure, play, and recreation get set aside. Another one is facilities. What facilities, what recreation centers, what types of things are local to individuals to be able to engage, and oftentimes they're not accessible or they're far away. So I really enjoy this specific quote because I feel like it's so at the center of what I do as a recreational therapist. But I hope that it becomes as the center of what you do in understanding leisure is so critical and important for those that you're serving. I think this past year during the pandemic has really showed us how important it is to connect, not only with other people, but to connect with ourselves. And one way that we can truly connect with ourselves is through engaging in leisure, recreation, and play. So leisure behavior is one of the most important determinants of life satisfaction and psychological well-being. Leisure is directly connected to our well-being and our quality of life. So engaging others in that is so critical, especially and maybe even more importantly when individuals have barriers, limitations, disabilities, or medical conditions that prevent them from a quote unquote typical leisure lifestyle. So when we talk recreational therapy, we address the five domains of a human being: physical, social, emotional, cognitive, and spiritual. We don't just look at, can someone recreate and how does that work? We look at, here are the 5 domains of an individual. What are the barriers or limitations physically that prevent them? What are the social barriers? What are the emotional, cognitive, and spiritual barriers? What prevents them, and how can we increase their quality of life in those 5 domains through leisure and recreation? Physical seems to be easier than others, engaging them physically, but how do we engage them socially? What does emotional engagement look like? How do we get them to express their emotions while they're engaging in leisure?
This is Pat. How can I help you?
Oh, sorry.
I'm doing
Then
well,
we
Jen.
look
How can I
at,
help you?
there we go. Thank you. Then we look at emotional engagement, or sorry, cognitive engagement. Think about that. How can someone be engaged cognitively while also engaging in leisure, play, and recreation? What about trivia? What does that look like? What about flashcards? What about taking them on a hike and talking about different trees or plants or things like that? What about pulling up a YouTube video and talking about trees or plants, or what does that look like? And then spiritual, not to be confused with religious. When we talk about our spiritual domain, we're talking about our being. How do we nurture our being? For me, oftentimes it does include being outside. For those maybe that can't or have a more difficult time getting outside, what does that look like? Can you bring outside to them? Can you bring them a rock and have them feel a rock? And what does the rock feel like? And what does the rock represent in their life? Really understanding these 5 domains, and I would encourage you all to understand them, not just for your clients, but for yourself as well. Oftentimes when one of these is off, so if I feel like maybe I'm not engaging socially as much, maybe my emotional domain is also declined. So when one of these has a deficit, oftentimes more than one of these are impaired. So it's important to look at the whole person when thinking about life in general, but when thinking about leisure, play, and recreation. So leisure, play, and recreation create meaning in our lives. If you haven't read this book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, I encourage you to do that. This is the plug for that. We got a thumbs up from Mindy. I love that. I definitely encourage that. The essence of the book is, it's this man who was in a concentration camp, and he was able to find meaning every day while he was in the concentration camp. Think about that. While being reduced to a number, right? He wasn't a human while he was in a concentration camp. He was a number. He was still able to find meaning in the everyday life from moment to moment. This is one of my favorite parts of the book. And it says, the meaning of life differ from man to man, from moment to moment. Thus, it is impossible to define the meaning of life in a general way. Questions about the meaning of life can never be answered by sweeping statements. Life does not mean something vague, but is very real and concrete, just as life's tasks are also very, very real and concrete. They form man's destiny, which is different and unique for each individual. No man and no destiny can be compared with any other man or any other destiny. No situation repeats itself, And each situation calls for a different response. Sometimes the situation in which a man finds himself may require him to shape his own fate by action. At other times, it is more advantageous for him to make use of the opportunity for contemplation and realize assets in this way. Something man may be required to simply accept fate or to bear the cross. Every situation is distinguished by its uniqueness, and there's always only one right answer to the problem posed by the situation at hand. I really enjoy this because we are all very different. Everyone that we work with is very different. They have different needs, they have different likes, they have different desires. Everyone is so different. But the way that we create meaning is moment by moment, that we get to define how we create our meaning. So what I want you to do with that piece of paper is to think about meaning. I want you to take 5 minutes. Oh, we're getting close. I'm going to say 2 minutes. Sorry, I'm going to cut you down. Think about this, but know that you can come back to it. And I encourage you to come back, come back to it, not just for this activity, but time and time again, because it will help you understand where you provide that meaning. So when we look at the 5 domains, I want you to think of 5 things that bring meaning to your life in each of the 5 domains. For example, I really enjoy reading. Reading for me would fall under that cognitive domain, right? Spiritual, I really enjoy hiking in the mountains. I really enjoy this. So 2 minutes, take a minute to think about each of these domains. What is it about these domains that bring you meaning? What brings you meaning in each of those domains? Go ahead and take those 2 minutes. Take about 30 more seconds. All right. Sorry, I know that wasn't a super long time, but I do encourage you to do this. I not only encourage you to do this with yourself, maybe your family, I encourage you to do it with those that you're working with. Ask the parents to list out their own 5 domains. Ask them to think about what brings them meaning in their life in each of those domains, to do it for themselves and their child. If their child is able, ask them to do it. This will help you get an idea for what types of leisure activities they enjoy, what they participate in. It'll also help them to help you to understand maybe where some of those deficits are. If they can't think of anything for an emotional domain, think through activities with them that they can engage in to support their emotional domain. So to follow up that, how does leisure play and recreation play a role in creating meaning in your life? So look at your list, think through, okay, maybe this one isn't I wouldn't classify as leisure, play, and recreation, but something else is. I would imagine that even though I didn't specifically say, think of leisure, play, and recreation activities that bring you meaning, you were able to identify leisure, play, and recreation activities in listing out your 5 domains and things that bring you meaning. It's because that's what brings us the meaning in our lives, leisure, play, and recreation. And when we engage in that with others, we have added value. Our leisure, play, and recreation is enhanced. So then taking it from there, what does it mean for the people you serve? We are all humans, meaning we're all the same in that we have 5 domains. We all have those 5 domains, regardless of who you're working with, they have those 5 domains. We can take that and use that to our advantage in working with them and understanding, here are our 5 domains, here's what we need, here's where our deficits are and where we can move forward. So while we've talked about a lot of different aspects of leisure, play, recreation, bringing meaning into our lives, I hope that you understand that leisure, play, and recreation can enhance the quality of life of those that you're working with. Sometimes what our families don't understand is how to, right? They're so inundated with the care of those that they're working with that they're not really sure how to find the resources to understand the tools. And so it's our responsibility to empower families to engage in leisure, engage in play, engage in recreation. So how do we do that? As long as you are not creating a treatment plan surrounding recreation, you are able to invite families to engage in leisure and recreation. And I only say that because in the state of Utah, because recreational therapy is licensed, if it's going into a treatment plan, it needs to be done by a recreational therapist by law. However, you can provide resources, you can provide tools to empower the families to engage in recreation, because it's something that we all should be doing regardless of who we are. So what I want you to think about as you're working with your clients is to identifying and discussing the following things. What are their current leisure behaviors and or interests? So we would never tell somebody to dance if they don't enjoy dancing. So we're never going to provide resources for dancing if that's not something that they enjoy. So you need to understand that baseline, just like in everything else you do, you understand the baseline so you can provide resources and support for everything else. So leisure and recreation is the same way. So what are they currently doing and what are they interested in? If they're currently doing nothing, but they have an interest in watching YouTube videos about soccer, can you bring them a soccer ball? Can you let them feel what the soccer ball is like? So understanding where they are now is going to help you in the future. So an inquiry to your families is going to be critical. What do you currently do for leisure? Simply just asking them, so what do you do for fun? What do you enjoy? That question is going to be critical as you're moving forward so that you can help them to understand the importance. If they say they're doing nothing, then a conversation surrounding why would it be important to engage in leisure needs to be had with your families. Then you're going to talk about their current leisure resources. Where do they go? What do they do? Do they have any leisure activity supplies that they like? Again, this conversation is going to stem from number 1. It's going to stem from their current behaviors and interests, because they're not going to have a soccer ball if they're not interested in soccer. So what are their current leisure resources? How do they access leisure and recreation? And again, those are just questions that you have, having this conversation with your families. Then identifying community resources. Once you've gathered information about what they do currently, you can also gather information on what those community resources are. Athena, I think it was earlier, showed us that wonderful website that you could pull up different resources in the community. This is another way that maybe I could be helpful for you, is just helping you identify those different resources within the community. Salt Lake County Adaptive Recreation is phenomenal. The National Ability Center is phenomenal. Camp Costopolis also provides some really incredible programming. So there are lots of different community resources within the Salt Lake Valley, but also extended all across Utah. So know that there are tons of community resources, even your local rec center, having some type of community center. There are lots of those around the state. So know that there's lots of community resources, lots of programming that's happening, and just even parks, things like that, to help your clients be aware of so that they can go and recreate there. And then there's online resources. There's lots of different things online, depending on what their leisure interests and behaviors are. There's YouTube videos for it. There's podcasts. There's all sorts of different things that you can invite into their life that they can take advantage of, and then essentially create a leisure plan in their own lives. And that is something that I would encourage you to do with your family, is set some goals revolving specifically around leisure for them, so they can set their own goals, they can keep track of those goals, and then just the follow up, hey, how's it going with your leisure? That is perfectly fine and within your scope to be able to do. That would invite quality of life into their lives. And that's essentially what I'm wanting. That's my purpose in being here, is how can you invite quality of life and well-being into their lives? And I am here suggesting that it is through leisure and recreation that we are enhancing quality of life. And so I hope that through that, again, leisure behavior is one of the most important determinants of life satisfaction and psychological well-being. There's lots of adaptations that you can make to any type of activity. Just like I created that little wood block for the front of my friend's power wheelchair, you can adapt or create activities. If somebody can't hold a pencil, how can you help them to paint or to draw, even though they can't do it? Can you create some sort of device? Can you look at community resources that already have devices that you could essentially help somebody to be able to engage in a leisure activity that maybe looks a little different? And that's the joy of recreational therapy from my perspective, is that I can take any activity, it doesn't matter what the activity is, and I can present it in a way that's individual for that specific client, understanding their needs, understanding their limitations, and understanding how they can move forward. So that's something that I would encourage you to think about. Uno doesn't have to be Uno. It can be Uno with a twist, and anybody can play the Uno with a twist, and you can create your own rules. And I think we get so stuck in, this is what this activity looks like, but it doesn't have to look like that. We can be creative. We can invite leisure and recreation through those different avenues by introducing different types of activities to them. And so my, I guess, plea for all of you, both individually and with your families, is to invite leisure, is to bring that, make that a priority, because we will live happier, more fulfilled, more satisfied lives as we invite leisure and well-being into our lives. So I will now, I guess, stop there, and I'd love to field any questions or engage in a discussion with you about how we can adapt specific activities or invite activities into your clients' lives. I'm actually going to stop. Well, I guess I'll leave that up for a little bit so that you can see my contact information. just real quick, if you have a question about recreational therapy, about the practice, anything like that, please contact me at the University of Utah email. If you have questions about services, you're looking for services for any of your clients, I can be contacted at Rec Therapy Solutions at gmail.com. So just noting that, just to differentiate the two of my roles. Happy to provide resources, anything like that, through my utah.edu email.
Tina just put something in the chat. Tina, please go ahead and talk about that for just a moment. I think Jamie would love to hear about it as well.
So we had the opportunity to work with an artist, and we may be doing more in the future with him because he's so great. His name is Michael, and he is the creator of Jump the Moon Studios in Logan, which has had some movement. I believe they're going to be actually housed within the CPD in Logan, which is the Center for Persons with Disabilities. That's going to be his new home. But he came down to the Utah Parent Center last week and did a great presentation on how to adapt and it just out of the box ideas on how to adapt things so you can create art no matter what your abilities are. And so I put the link in for the video, and he's the neatest guy. And Jamie, I think you're really going to like it because I think you're a MacGyver like him. And so, yeah, if you guys have a chance to watch it, he's got some super cool ideas, and I'll anything else he does with us, I'll make sure you guys get it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tina. Yeah, that's phenomenal. I love seeing people being innovative and creating a platform for people of all abilities to engage in leisure and recreation. So thank you, Tina.
So
can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've been having problems logging in and out all day here. But Jamie, I wanted to also mention that we have something new at Shriners Hospital. We've always had the loaner program, but some of these special needs devices are so expensive.
Dora, I'm sorry. I think your audio cut out again. Not sure if everyone else is experiencing that.
Oh, the NAC also has equipment that they will help you identify with. There's lots of grants and different ways to get adaptive equipment, but it can be very costly. So that's another barrier to that. But I think that there are more and more ways in which we can fund those things. And so I'd love to collaborate with anybody on if they're looking for adaptive equipment, if we can figure out a way to get that. I think that would be phenomenal. While she's, oh, go ahead.
If it's okay, I was just going to say, I mean, I think this is so important. We, as Jamie pointed out, the pandemic really brought a lot of things to light. I think it's really interesting. I don't know how many of you are hearing that certain kinds of workers, like in restaurants, are quitting their jobs in record numbers right now because they have found that that was not improving their quality of life. I mean, there's something of a revolution happening. And Jamie, you really struck a chord when you talked about, when you think back to the best times of your life, what were you doing? It's really about that leisure and that recreation and those connections for sure. And I think that there is that spectrum, right? You've got kids who are going to have some pretty big challenges finding some ways to recreate, but you've also got kids who maybe on the surface don't look like it's going to be so hard, but it might also be the thing that helps those kids with their mental health. So, you know, those invisible disabilities, and we work with those kids all the time, right? And we see those numbers skyrocketing. And there's also the comorbid issues of kids with chronic and complex conditions having more mental and behavioral health challenges. So I see so many neat, cool things happening in this. It's hard to add one more thing to your list, and yet it may be, in a way, one of the most important things that you can do for these families. So any of the tools that you could share with us, Jamie, we would love those 5 domains. If there's a worksheet that you might have already put together or something that we can share out with folks, even as a reminder. I don't know if you could put it up in your clinic. What are you doing in these domains? You know, I don't know, just any way that we can do that. I think it's just huge. And if we can help start building these things in little ways earlier, there could be so much more of a quality of life that happens for everyone in that family. And Jamie, as you know, in medical home and in pediatrics, it's not just the child, it's that whole family that's a unit, right? They all have to be experiencing leisure and quality of life. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So just to touch back on the loaner program at Shriners, it's through the wheelchair and seating department. They have a loaner program at no cost for patients aged 0 to 18. They have a smart drive, a jogging stroller, a beach chair, and a free wheel for hiking. So definitely be in touch with Shriners. They're a phenomenal resource, as you all know. And to be able to loan this at no cost is an incredible thing. So check out that program for sure.
yes, we love Shriners. And I know Athena's madly putting together all of these things so that they'll be sent out. So you'll have an email that, you know, reminds you and a link to click on that'll take you to all of these things that we're talking about. Tina, I just wonder if you'd like to bring up the adaptive play page on the medical home portal that you helped write. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure. We have a page on the portal that, like she said, is called Adaptive Play. And Mindy, if you want to grab that link, I can't talk and do things at the same time, sorry. But we just talk about different ways that you can adapt your play. And for some of our kids, they might need something mounted, you know, to a table, or they might need something that'll help it stick more. They might need an extra handle, or they may need, good, I'm glad you're grabbing that. You know, it talks about at home. It talks about if you're hospitalized and what you can do from a hospital bed. There are switches out there that you can adapt to toys. And just, you know, when you tell parents about these switch toys, they are very expensive if they're already put together, but you can find instructions out there. And I think maybe we do have them in here on how to add a switch to a toy yourself, because sometimes a child might just have a little bit of movement in their hand enough to tap a switch, and they can make their toy sing or flash or whatever the toy does. And you know, so be creative when thinking about, you know, what a child can or can't do, because it's like Jamie said, it may not be sports. It may not be, you know, maybe it's creating art. Maybe it's, you know, just being able to play. And there's a quote out there. I think it's at the top of the page, Mindy, and it's from Mr. Rogers, and who I think most of us love. And it says, hang on, you guys are in front of it. Play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. And so think about play as recreation, as something as simple as sitting at a table and playing and laughing and having fun.
Yeah, that's a great resource. And I think sorry, Tina, as you were talking, I was just thinking about, as a child, we engage in play, and oftentimes that's what becomes our coping skills later in life. Whether it's that specific activity, maybe it's not playing with Barbies or playing basketball or whatever it is. For me, it was basketball. I knew every time I got angry or frustrated, I'd go and shoot basketball. I'd go and shoot the basketball. And now I recognize that that was my coping skill. And so taking even just a step outside, knowing that that helped me when I was younger, getting back to my authentic self, I can take a step outside. And so it's just so important for children to learn the skills of play and to just engage in play on it in and of itself, so that then as we become adults, as we grow, those become our coping skills.
And I just wanted to add, guys, that picture up there is my cute kid when he was younger. And he's actually in the ER there, getting ready to be seen by a doctor. And he's got all his coping skills right there with him.
I love it. Thank you. Eric, it looks like you have your hand up.
Yes, and so I have kind of a comment and a question also to my team, probably to Walt. For several years, one of our former employees, Dr. Lou Allen, was running a program after he retired called Able Differently, and they were funding some activities for some families of children with special healthcare needs. So for example, equine therapy, or, the kid wanted to take swimming lessons or do some sort of sports or leisure or recreational activity that might have a cost. It could have been, even nominal cost sometimes is prohibitive to a family. And so Dr. Allen and his group were trying to get families connected to services and trying to fund those through this not-for-profit. Walt, do you know if they're still, if Lou and Sue Dickinson and them are still doing that?
Actually, I asked Tony about that, and Tony was indicating that she thought that that was still in process. I don't know if Tony's on or not, but maybe she can address that. But I haven't worked with them for a year or two.
Okay. We sometimes forget about them.
Eric, sorry, yeah, I did talk with Sue recently, and they are still doing the Able Differently program.
Perfect. So anyway, we thought that might throw that out as a resource and could be something, maybe if we don't already have it on the portal. When we used to do live advocacy fairs with school districts and some of the transition fairs and stuff, they would almost always be there, and I would touch bases with them. But we haven't done that in such a long time live that I've kind of lost track. But they were always trying to encourage us, please, there it is, beautiful. Please reach out to us. We have money and means, and we want to get people connected. So anyway, just so you know, it's there. And it looks like their website isn't quite as big a train wreck as it was before. They're well-intentioned people, but they weren't webmasters. But it looks like this is a little bit better, so it might be easier to navigate. And I'll leave my editorial comments at that. My apologies. I digress.
Yeah, and thank you so much for your plug for the ISP program. And we do want to remember all of our resources that we really know and feel very comfortable reaching out to, even on a first name basis. So don't hesitate, guys, to connect with Tina at the Utah Parent Center, Utah Family Voices, with Eric and Walt and Tony and Natalie and all those folks at ISP. They are here for this reason exactly. And there's one thing that Tina brought up when we were planning this meeting, I think I'm right. And that is that sometimes families with children with these, complex, difficult conditions that take up all of their time and energy and resources don't think that they should be able to have leisure. How did you say it, Tina?
Well, I think what I was saying is I've come across many families who say, my child can't, CAN''T. And we want to change that perspective to my child can. And it might be, a belief that it might just be as simple as, you know, somebody in the hospital process told them they'll never be able to blank, 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 or and so they, you know, in the midst of their grief and their processing and their caregiving, they don't think their child can do something. And we want to change that to, you know, we can adapt something so that they can. You know, we always want to make sure that they can, and that their parents believe that they can. And that sometimes a family might get stuck in that train of thought. And so, yeah, I think that's an important piece to remember is, you know, encourage families to explore and like Jamie said, you know, adapt things. But sometimes you have to help to change that train of thought as well.
Very nice. Any other questions or comments?
So Jamie, let me just ask you this. Where are rec therapists located? So, you know, once you get this master's degree or what, you know, advanced degree, are we finding these in like rehab places? You know, where would you connect with someone like this? Not to say that we would love to connect with you, but where is our cornucopia of leisure and recreational therapists in our communities?
Yeah, great question. So we have a recreational therapist who works at Shriners. I don't know if you've ever been involved with the Halloween costume extravaganza that happens there. That's led by a recreational therapist. So we have rec therapists there. We have rec therapists in rehab facilities, mental health hospitals, adolescent treatment centers, things like that. There's a lot of behavioral health oriented. We have up at uni, they have a autism summer camp that's run by recreational therapists. And so we're kind of all over the place. NAC, Salt Lake County Adaptive, Camp Costopolis, Wasatch Adaptive Sport. Those places they all employ recreational therapists. So they're a little bit all over the place. Just kind of depends on what you're looking for, what kind of services you're looking for. There aren't many recreational therapists that have a private practice like I do. So you have to have a master's degree in recreational therapy to have private practice. And so in terms of offering individualized services that in the community, other than going to like an adaptive recreation spot, there just aren't a ton of those at this point. But depending on what you're looking for, if you have a specific need, please feel free to shoot me an email and I'm happy to connect you with anybody that I can.
I was just going to say, as just an interesting point, our bureau director, Noelle Taxon, that is what her master's degree is in. So she's been directing our bureau for several years, but she constantly is talking to us about the importance of leisure and recreation. And as the integrated services program and as a Bureau of Children with Special Health Care Needs, we're really looking at ways that we can try to encourage that and make that part of our way of doing business at the Department of Health. As we work with families and children with special health needs. So Jamie, your information today is really timely as we kind of pursue some of those endeavors within our program.
Well, thank you. It was a privilege and an honor to be here. It's always fun and something important to me to talk about leisure and recreation. And I hope that something was helpful and please consider me a resource. I'm happy to communicate via email or I can provide my number, whatever works best for you. So happy to stay connected and be a support for you all.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And if it's all right, I'll just go ahead and put all of your contact information in the summary of the meeting that we send out.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And as you saw, we have your business information in our services directory and it will be highlighted as well.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I learned a ton. I learned a ton about myself too. I did my little exercise. So all right. Well, it's almost 10, so we'll call it a month. We'll call it a meeting. Just remember that listserv is available for you guys to communicate between meetings, and we hope you'll use it. And my goodness, just stay cool. What the heck, you guys? It's hot. All right. Thanks again so much, everyone, for your attendance today, and Jamie, especially for your taking the time. We really appreciate it. We've got a lot of people saying thank you in the chat. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.
Bye, guys.